In this movie, I'm going to show you how to quickly format text using a few built-in features of Visual Studio Code. So if we look at my document right now, we see that I haven't got any HTML markup except for the original document structure. So what I'm going to do, if I scroll through it, we'll see that there's a ton of content that should be paragraphs. There's also some things that should be headings. The headings are just for convenience for the movie, all in all caps. I've also got an area here that should be a menu. So I'm going to show you how to format all of these paragraphs and the menu very, very quickly. So one thing we can do, there is the ability to wrap elements inside HTML tags. We can make a selection and then wrap the selection in a tag. And if I click on the line number, I can actually select the element beside it. So right here I pressed line 22 and I select the first paragraph. If I hold Command on Mac or Control on PC, I can select subsequent paragraphs. Now that's good. That allows us to make these selections quick, but I can do this even more quickly. I'm going to go and just turn the selection off by clicking somewhere else, and I'm going to go back to the top of the document. What I want to do here is, if I go to the View menu, I'm going to toggle word wrap. So what this is going to do is stop the paragraphs from wrapping, and now they're just continuing off the screen. The only reason I'm doing this is so that I can now fit more paragraphs on the screen, making it easier to select them using this method. I'm going to press Command on Mac, Control on Windows. And I'm going to go and select these paragraphs. So here we go. I've already selected half the paragraphs in the document. Another couple seconds and I should have them all selected. And there we are. Okay, so a bunch of paragraphs are selected. Next, I want to invoke the command palette. The command palette is a feature built into Visual Studio Code, as well as a number of other editors like Atom or Sublime Text. And then they all have the same command. Command-Shift-P on Mac. I believe on Windows it'll be Control-Shift-P. And what this allows us to do is access any command in the program. It's the ultimate shortcut if you don't know where a command is. It also allows you to access commands and functionality that has been brought to Visual Studio by any extension you have installed. So I'm going to search for the word wrap here. And it shows me three things. The toggle of word wrap that I did earlier could actually have been invoked from here. But I'm looking specifically for Emmet wrap with abbreviation. What this allows us to do is take any selection and put things at the beginning and end of it. Because we're in an HTML document here, this will allow us to wrap HTML tags. So I'm going to choose wrap with abbreviation. And it says enter abbreviation. I'm going to put a P tag. If you look at the document right now, it shows that the opening and closing P tag is now wrapped around each of the two paragraphs we can see on screen. If I press enter, that will confirm the operation. It will commit it to the document. If I don't press enter, if I just click back into the document, the proposed change will not occur. So I press enter. There we go. I notice I've actually got an extra selection right up at the top of the document. I'm going to remove that. I've actually removed the document type, but don't worry, it's just a demo. Anyway, now I'm going to show you a bit more. If I look at contact here, I notice I've actually got a few extra tabs at the end, so I'm just removing them. Just ignore that. Okay, now I'm making a big selection or a single selection of 5 elements. This is another technique we can use here. I've got a single selection, but what I want to do is wrap each of these words in an anchor tag to make it a link, and then wrap each of these links in an LI to make it part of a menu, and then wrap those LIs in a single UL and a nav element. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take my single selection, and I'm going to go to the selection menu. And this is, I think, a really bad command name. In a couple other editors, this command is known as split selection into lines, which I think makes more sense. However, Visual Studio Code names the selection add cursors to line ends, which is kind of an obscure way of saying it, but try it and you see what happens. We now have 5 cursors, one at the end of each line, and I can move from the front to the end of the line using Command left arrow or right arrow on the Mac. On Windows, I believe Control left arrow or Control right arrow does the same thing. If I'm wrong, I apologize. Please find that command though, because it's very, very useful. Now, if I add the Shift key to this operation, so I'm doing the Command right arrow or Command left arrow, if I add the Shift key, I am now making a selection. This is beautiful. I've taken a single selection, split it into 5 lines, and now I'm selecting the content of each of these. So now I have 5 separate selections. I'm going to invoke the command palette again. Command Shift P or Control Shift P on Windows. We see here that our recently used commands are already at the top of the list of available commands. So I want to use Emmet wrap with abbreviation again. So all I need to do is press return. It asks me what the abbreviation is going to be, and here I can actually get a little fancier. I'm going to say here A, and we see we have now wrapped an A tag around each element. But I can be even more complex. I'm going to do LI, and then I'm going to do greater than A. So I am adding an A, which is wrapped in an LI, around each of these words. I can even get a little bit more complex. If maybe I want to add an LI with a class. So if I do a dot, and if we haven't covered classes yet, don't worry. I'm going to do a class of menu-item. So li.menuitem greater than A. So don't worry if we haven't done classes. Classes are attributes that allow us to style things in a more granular way than just styling a single tag in CSS. But don't worry. li.menuitem would give it a class. li greater than A would give us a child relationship. I'm going to press return. We can do it with or without the class. So there we go. Great. We've got our wrap selection, but it's even more subtle than that. If you look right now, the blinking cursor, the insertion point, is inside the quotation marks, meaning Visual Studio Code is ready for you to input the actual value of the href. And because I want testing links here, I'm just going to use the pound sign. Now we've marked up our content, but a bunch of list items require a parent UL. So a UL to turn it into an unordered list. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to go, and actually I notice it's tabbed in a little bit farther than I like. I'm going to press Command on Mac, Control on Windows, I assume. And I'm going to use the left square bracket to reduce the tabbing here, the indentation. Strictly not needed for this video, but I'm doing it just because the untidiness kind of bothers me. So now, I want to wrap again. Command, Shift, P, Control Shift P on Windows. I'm going to use wrap with abbreviation. It's already selected, so I'm going to press return. And now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go nav greater than UL. So the idea here is I'm wrapping a UL around my LIs, making a unordered list, and I'm putting that unordered list in a navigation element, which I can even give a class. I'm going to do dot menu hyphen main. So this will allow us to style this uniquely. Don't worry if we haven't done classes yet. I'm just going to press return, and there we go. A quickly marked up menu, quickly marked up bunch of paragraphs, consistency. It's a beautiful technique.